Integrada Internacional da FAVAG, de 25 a 29 de outubro. Mini cursos e oficinas. E ainda, palestras nacionais e internacionais, abordando o tema O Profissional 4.0, Quebrando Paradigmas. Quarta Semana Integrada Internacional da FAVAG. Acesse favag.edu.br e inscreva-se. Quarta Semana Integrada Internacional da FAVAG.
Boa noite a todos. Vamos dar continuidade aí à nossa quarta Semana Integrada, né, Internacional da FAVAG. Prazer estar com vocês. E a gente vai ter hoje uma apresentação bem interessante, né? Internacional, trazendo a experiência aí de profissionais ao redor do mundo, né? Para ampliar a nossa visão, a visão de vocês, né? A gente pensar aí fora do nosso contexto, né? Buscando pegar essas aplicações, tá? Para o nosso contexto aqui, né? Então é importante a gente ver coisas diferentes, com uma visão diferente, né? De pessoas com uma cultura e uma vivência diferente da nossa, tá? Então, gente, hoje nós vamos ter uma apresentação do Ramkumar, tá? Ele é o professor, né? Tá ligado ao Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology, tá? Da Índia, tá? Ele vai falar para nós, vai fazer uma palestra conosco aqui, apresentando o tema Reconstruindo a Tecnologia da Construção, tá? Um mini currículo, né, que ele apresenta aqui, um mini bio que ele nos enviou, tá, para caracterizar ele nos coloca o seguinte, ó: adora trabalhar em tecnologias vernaculares, treinando alunos e jovens profissionais na evolução do conceito de design e no desenvolvimento de detalhes para a seleção de materiais apropriados. Recentemente, está se aventurando no design sustentável para estratégias de design passivo, tá? Então, esse é um mini bio aí, o mini currículo dele, né, nessa área de atuação do professor, tá? Acho que é um tema bastante instigante, tema bastante interessante, né? Atual, muito atual para nós, né, no nosso atual contexto, e eu acho que vocês vão poder explorar bastante, né? Vamos prestar bem atenção aí para a gente pegar as ideias e a experiência, né, desse professor, tá? Que isso possa contribuir para a gente aqui. Então, vamos agora para a apresentação do professor, tá? Vai ser apresentado para nós aqui a palestra que ele gravou. Nós vamos ver toda a palestra, tá? Vocês anotem as dúvidas, o questionamento que vocês queiram, porque ao final vocês vão poder colocar elas no chat, tá? Já pode ir colocando no chat, que a nossa estudante Pamela vai coletar essas perguntas e depois vai ser passado para ele responder esses questionamentos, tá? Isso vai ser redirecionado para vocês, tá bom? Mas então vamos ver toda a apresentação e ao final a gente volta aqui para discussões, né, e sobre a temática. Então, aproveita bastante aí, tá? E vamos ver a apresentação. Ô, Bruno, pode passar o vídeo, tá?
Hello, and good day to everyone present here at the FAVAG International Week. My name is Ramkumar. I'm an Associate Professor of Architecture, Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology in India. I'm glad that I've been invited to speak to you about the recent trends in the field of building construction. There are lots of innovations that's going across, so we'll start talking about few. I've titled my speech as Reinvent Building Construction with AI, with Artificial Intelligence. Reinvent? Why should we reinvent something? We should reinvent because something has changed. It is going to change the entire process of how we have been doing things in the past. So, let's see what is there to be reinvented in the field of building construction. We have AI now. I'm sure AI should be having some tools that can help us reinvent. Let's see. I have a very small agenda for the evening. Artificial intelligence, what is it? Just to touch upon basics of it. How artificial intelligence works. What are the different frameworks available? And here comes the most interesting piece, AI and construction. I'm planning to split construction into different phases and touch upon points where AI can jump in and help us reinvent the process of construction itself. AI, what is it? Is it something new? No. AI, the word itself, is invented or coined in the year 1956 by John McCarthy at the Dartmouth conference. So it's pretty old, I guess. What is AI? AI is a science and engineering of making intelligent machines. To get machines to behave and work like humans, very close to how we think and work. So there are different types of artificial intelligence that is being spoken about. First one is artificial narrow intelligence, where it's machine learning, artificial general intelligence, otherwise a machine intelligence, artificial superintelligence as machine consciousness. This is stage one, machine learning, where it specializes in one area and solves one problem at a time. Not very complex and doing multiple operations. An example is Alexa. You ask Alexa a question, like how we normally type a question in Google, and we get so many different options given as answers for us. And it's our intelligence to pick the right answer that is needed for us. Similarly, when you ask your question to Alexa, Alexa knows who you are because you are logged into a Google account already. And it knows where are you calling from, what's your age. Depending on that, it knows and it picks the right answer that you are expecting. So this is artificial intelligence at a machine learning level, because it keeps on learning based on your interest, what you have been asking Alexa again and again. So all the information that we've asked for are being collected and put it as in the warehouse and can be taken out anytime to correlate and give you another right answer the next time you ask for it. But the stage two, machine intelligence, it's a little cleverer machine. It refers to a computer that is as smart as a human across all the board. So artificial general intelligence is where we are trying to make the machine work like very much similar to a human being, to think and take decisions for itself. And it's not a planned way. You go through a planned way and you find an obstacle in between. The machine itself takes a diversion, finds a different route, takes decision to take a diversion, finds a different route, and then continues again. So this is the next level of artificial intelligence. The third stage, I assume it's still not there. We are not there yet. Artificial superintelligence, where we talk about machine consciousness. This machine at stage 3 will be much more smarter than humans, can do multiple things more often than any human being, the best of the human beings that can do. And this is where great scientists like Stephen Hawking feel that machines will take over human beings. I think it's not far. In this slide, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence frameworks. I'm not sure if this is the right word, but there are lots of tools that are there, lots of processes that are needed for artificial intelligence to work. One of it is machine learning, vision, data, speech, and robotics. So there are different processes that's happening which enables artificial intelligence. The machine learning is what we just saw in the previous slides and examples of Alexa, where we were talking about the deep learning process, where it keeps on learning every time an activity happens, stores down all the information, collects all the information, and makes it useful the next time a similar activity happens. And that is what is done in the predictive analysis. Before something is going to happen, the system is made to predict what is going to happen. And there might be 2-3 options that it is predicting. And as the deep learning goes on and on, your prediction is going to be much clearer, much appropriate, and much accurate. So I think that is what is leading to the stage 3 that we spoke about. Vision. Vision is done through image processing. There are lots and lots of sensors we have now to capture vision, to capture the pictures and videos of things that are happening around. So this images, when it is captured, it has to be processed into some data. This processed images are broken down into various components. I would say a tagging component. Say for example, I pick up a pen. This pen has got lots of parameters, lots of tags that you can associate to this pen. One tag, for example, this is a fountain pen or it's a ballpoint pen. That's the first tag, for example. And then you can say the length of this pen, the diameter of the pen, the material in which it is made of, the color of the ink that is there, black, blue, or green, or red, whatever. So these are different tags that our human brain processes these tags very naturally without even we knowing it. But this is how we need to teach the system. We need to, when you say this is a pen, it's going to have lots of information. It's going to need a lot of information for the machine to identify that this is a pen. When you take a photo of this using the vision options, the image processing techniques, this photo is going to go back to the machine, and the machine is going to add all these tags to this pen, and then finally identifies whether this is a pen or it's a pencil. So when I say I want a pen with a black ink, it goes searches for the pen with a black ink and presents it to me. So for these things to happen, we need data. Data is collected in the form of sensors, through sensors. There are lots of sensors. The camera that we spoke about is one of the sensor. We have thermal sensors that we are using these days during the COVID situations. So all these sensors gives data to our system, which can be tagged and saved for future use. The next big thing is data. We have sensors that collects data for us. We use different kinds of sensors, like how we have different sensors in our body, seeing, hearing, smelling, touching. So there's lots of machines, lots of small equipments we have created to collect data from these sensors. So these collected information are stored in one particular area. And before storing it, the data is tagged, like how we spoke about the pen. A pen is just a pen by itself to a human being, but to a machine, it's a pen this much long, this thick, of this colored ink, made out of this particular material. So all that together is the pen. So to define a pen, we need so much of data, so much of tagging parameters to identify the particular pen that we are talking about. The next component would be speech. Speech to text and text to speech. These might be totally strange and new if I had to talk about it 5 years before. But now we have all of us have these kind of speech recognition softwares in our mobile phones. We speak. There are lots of AI applications that run out of speech. And finally, robotics. This is a lot about tools that will really help do all the base work. Like 3D printer is one of the robotic tools. We have lots of robots to do most of the construction work by itself. Like we have a bricklaying robot, we have robots to do plastering work, we have robots to do drywalling. So there are lots of robots invented for different purposes, at different stages of construction industry. Okay, so here so far we spoke about artificial intelligence. What are the different types of artificial intelligence? And we had few examples of how each of the functions work and how artificial intelligence is trying to mimic the behavior of humans and trying to work like a human by taking decisions all by itself. And then we talked about few of the frameworks and few of the tools that are available that helps complete the process of artificial intelligence. That was a brief recap of what we saw so far regarding artificial intelligence. From here, we are going to jump into artificial intelligence and construction, how artificial intelligence can be used in different parts and phases of the construction industry. We know that artificial intelligence is data-driven. So there are lots of data that is being captured, a lot of data that has been tagged and kept ready for being used for the future. So in that way, artificial intelligence is making a huge impact in different industries. Earlier, artificial intelligence was considered to be used only by the computer science industry. There are lots of computers and lots of electronic devices that were using artificial intelligence. But now there is everybody who's using it. It's everywhere, all around us. So whether you like it or not, it's going to make you learn artificial intelligence and work along with it. Artificial intelligence obligates to change basics of every single industry that is there from the past. And as we say, it's going to change every industry. It's also going to influence the construction processes. So we have listed down few processes that AI would influence as creative design process, the construction process, project management process, and the operation and maintenance process of a building or infrastructure that has been constructed. So it's during design, during construction, during project management, and after construction, the operation and maintenance. AI can be used in all these phases of a building. It's like from the start to the end. Let's go to each of the single processes. So here's what we are going to reinvent. We were talking about what need to be reinvented in the construction industry. These are the processes need to be reinvented. Basically, the entire construction process is going to change and it's going to be reinvented. Yes, reinvent design. There are lots of processes within the designing phase that are going to be influenced by artificial intelligence. Visualizing. Visualization is one of the key aspects of an architect. When I was in my architecture school doing my bachelor's degree, we had to do sketches, 3D sketches for all the plans and elevations that we are working on those days. But now we have lots and lots of softwares. We have AutoCAD, we have SketchUp models, we have Rhinos, and so many things that can visualize and show us what the final product is going to look like. We have virtual reality, we have augmented realities to make our client really feel what the final product is going to look like even before digging up the first pit in your site. This is a very huge change that artificial intelligence can do to visualizing a design during the design processes. And obviously, change management. Every design, anything for that matter, is going to have lots of options that are being created. And there is going to be lots of changes from the client side, from the requirements, from the kind of material that you want to use, from the kind of inavailability of labor. There are so many different problems we have at site. Based on all this, the design is going to change every now and then. It's not going to be a standard design all the time. So when the design changes, I'll give you an example here. We were tagging all the materials, right? So a place where we were trying to use a wooden door, for example. A door is an object, and an object can be tagged as the length and breadth and thickness and height and all, weight and all that. And material is also one other tag for a particular door. So if I'm thinking about doing a door with a timber, and one fine day, client comes out saying, okay, I don't want a timber door here. We would rather have a aluminum aluminum extrusion door with a glass panel so that I can see through. So the material changes. Nothing in the design changes. It's just the material that's getting changed. Instead of a wooden door, we are going to replace that with an aluminum glazed door. So obviously, the kind of estimates changes. Your material requirement for each of the particular material. Wood requirements reduces. The need for aluminum increases a bit. And there might be a new need for glass that is coming in. That's going to be fixed as part of the door. So all these changes are now tagged. We just have to change the door, or not even touch the door. Just go to the tag of that particular door and change the material from timber to aluminum. And it's going to work. It's going to solve all the problems. This is one of the very small changes that I'm speaking about, but there are multiple changes, as we all know, in the construction industry. And doing all these changes is going to be much quicker and easier going forward. Okay, again, when we think about so many tags that have been associated for a single door, imagine the number of tags that you can associate for a home or for cities, where even more complex situations like socio-economic factors come into place. There are different kinds of people living, different kinds of immigrants, people moving in and moving out. There are floating population. There are different kinds of businesses that are happening in a city. There are different kinds of typologies of buildings that are coming up and down. Everything is tagged now. Everything is going to be a big data. All these data put together is going to create a home and cities that we are going to live in. Here again, I can project an example for you. You're going to design a house for a couple in a particular city. So when you key in all the information, you know, okay, this particular house is going to be built in this city. So artificial intelligence automatically goes back. This is the smallest, the section, stage 1 of artificial intelligence. It goes back, it says, okay, if I'm going to do something in Bombay, it can go collect all the climatic information about Bombay, all the standards and specification provided that are needed to be taken care in that design. All that is going to be thrown to the architect right before he starts even thinking about the plans. It's very, very smart way of working. We can do lots of design processes and waste little time on mundane activity like collecting information to be put in these places. There are even chances that we might forget some information. Say, for example, a fire safety standard of a particular city, of the city of Mumbai, might be different from the fire safety standard from the city of Delhi. So we might miss certain things which these computers will not miss. They're going to give you upfront, show it in front of your face and tell, okay, design, implement this particular standard into your design, otherwise it's not going to be accepted. So these are the kind of interventions that artificial intelligence can do to the way we design buildings, the design processes. And accurate estimates. We already spoke about one of the door example where we change the particular material, the estimate changes. We change the this is where tools like Rivet and BIM comes into place. We change something and there are lots of different stakeholders in a building. Not just an architect or a structural engineer. There are HVAC people, there are MEP guys, there's a general contractor, everybody. So something changes, it's going to affect almost all the stakeholders. And finally, it's going to affect the estimate, the cost that the investor, the investing company has to invest on that particular building. So you change something at the, it's very quick and it's very smart in calculating the cost of change and gives back to your customer. So these are the various things that came to my mind regarding the design processes. Well, We are now in the construction phase. So we can see what we need to reinvent in the construction area. There are lots of processes, like similar to what we saw in the design phase. Construction has got lots of processes where AI can help. It can even update the construction processes by tagging every single object, tagging parameters to every single object. The construction itself can be easier and quicker. We can use lots of robots and tools like 3D printers. We spoke about few of the robots that in one of the previous slides for bricklaying and all those purposes. So when robots are used, there can be certain activity that can be done overnight when all the real human laborers and workers are home sleeping. There can be certain harmful activity, harmful chemicals that can be applied during the night time when there are no human beings are working at the site, all with the help of robots. When robots are used, they're not going to strike, they're not going to talk about tiredness, they're not going to talk about the weather conditions. So it's like 24/7 productivity. There are lots of activity that we can schedule, we can make the robot work after we leave the site, after we humans leave the site, and allow that activity to be completed before we step into the site in the morning. So when you come in the morning, you have certain amount of activity which is already done and kept ready for you. Isn't that nice? Quality assurance, wow. This is where there are a lot of things that can happen. We have lots of tools to measure quality, to make sure that all the works that we do are of sticking to the quality standards and specifications. There might be certain tools that we might ignore. There might be certain things that are not measured properly. Human errors are there. But machines don't do that. You schedule the machine on a time frame. It does, okay, after this activity is complete, I need to do this quality check and then only move to the next activity if the quality check passes. So this is where artificial intelligence is going to come in, help you take decisions, or it takes decisions by itself. Whether it's passing, it goes to the next activity. If it doesn't pass, stops there, alerts you, gives you a warning, telling, okay, this particular standard or this particular specification is not met. Do you want to continue or not? So these are the kind of areas AI can help in reinventing the construction process. Next, we'll talk about project management. What are all the phases? What are all the aspects of project management that can be reinvented? Project management office itself is already an efficient office. They have lots of data. They oversee everything at the site. They have to send lots of reports to your customer. These reports have all the data. And data is again the root of the artificial intelligence. Because we spoke about a lot of data being collected through a lot of sensors and all those in different times of the day. Those data were tagged and kept ready for being used in applications like this, where we have to report back to the customer. Safety predictions is one other application of artificial intelligence. Remember, we spoke about the prediction analysis when we were going through the framework of artificial intelligence. So here I'll give you an example. There is a particular worker who's standing on the 5th story of a building, and we see that his harness is not buckled properly. There can be image sensors, there can be the contact sensors in his harness that can tell, okay, there is a problem with the harness and it's going to affect the safety aspect of this particular worker. And probably if he's carrying some load, the time he is going to take to come down, or the amount of load that he is carrying, if it's going to increase up to after a certain limit, this harness is going to break or whatever. Safety predictions can happen using artificial intelligence. Image processing with association with project management. I can give you an example of a heap of course aggregate that's kept on a site. Project managers can fly a drone with image capturing sensors, and with the kind of the tagging, the course aggregate can be tagged to the type of aggregate, the type of the coefficient ratios, and if it's going to be heat, what is the angle that aggregate is going to fall into. With the angle and with the image that is capturing, with the length and breadth or the circumference of the pile, we can quickly and very accurately predict the quantity that is available in our site for tomorrow's use. Object identification. Again, we have lots of algorithms in artificial intelligence which can identify objects. Say, for example, if after concreting is done, when the shutters are removed, these object identification algorithms can be sent across to see if there are honeycombs all through the surfaces where even humans cannot walk around. If there is a column, exterior column, where we need to inspect the exterior column for honeycombs, these image sensors can be sent. Image sensors can read the data, the current data. It can compare data with whatever data we have already fed into that particular system. It can match data and say, okay, this is a honeycomb, this has to be corrected. There's something wrong with the kind of concreting that was done earlier. Inventory mapping, yeah, I think I already spoke about the pile of aggregate. So all that can be done with the help of image processing tools that are available as part of artificial intelligence. And overall, we can control all the overruns, cost overrun, time overrun, and all that by using these kind of artificial intelligence algorithms and effectively run a project management at site. Finally, the last piece of reinvention is the operations and maintenance. So after the building is completed, the construction is complete and the building is occupied and is running for years and years and years. So we are collecting data, we are collecting information every single day about the amount of energy being used, amount of water being used, number of people coming in and going out at what times of the day, and how the lift can be optimized. So much of data that we are collecting, and we can compare all this data across time for years together. That is where machine learning comes into place. This machine keeps on learning based on the amount of data that is getting fed into the machine over a long period of time, and that helps in optimization of all the operations and maintenance activity that's happening inside the building. We can use lots of sensors and recorders here again to collect the sensitive information and data that can be used for this optimization. So much of sensors are being used these days, and so much are going to be coming in the near future. Very recently, I read an article about chips being manufactured as cost less than a penny. Chips are even cheaper than paper, crushed paper that is thrown into a bin. So all microchips can be converted, can be used in making all our sensors and recorders. So there's going to be chips, microchips everywhere now to collect information, collect data. All this data can finally help us optimize our processes. Predictive warnings and alerts. I think we already spoke about one of the example of a worker standing in a construction phase. Here, predictive warnings can be based on the annual maintenance of a particular equipment. Say, for instance, the lifting motor of an elevator. If the maintenance activity was not done at the right time, the system can give a warning, or it can give an alert telling, okay, you have crossed the maintenance due date, and that's going to create some problem later on. So predictive warnings and alerts are possible even if you forget it. Any activity which is annual, Most men even forget our wives' birthdays. So we are likely to forget a day when a lift has to be inspected. So these kind of predictive warnings are really going to help us. Finally, it adds up to the sense of security for us. So we know that all the activities, all the operations and the maintenance activities are happening as per schedule. So I feel secure at my place. Because we are collecting large amount of data. Large scale data is being collected, gathered, stored, being used for learning and predicting the future impacts. So there are lots of things that can be done using artificial intelligence. And as we collect lots of information and data, it goes back into the system, helps in the learning process, and keeps the cycle moving. And it keeps on continuing. So before I end my session, I want to ask you this question. Are we ready to embrace this change? There is a change coming up. We need to gear up to embrace this change. A change which was happening only in the computer science industry is happening everywhere else. We need to gear up and start to reinvent. And when we reinvent, it's not just about machines that we need to keep talking about. We'll also have to talk about sustainability. We need to reinvent, but yet try to be as sustainable as possible. After all, we have one planet, and we'll make sure that our planet is safer and keeping us happier for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
Boa noite, gente. Muito boa apresentação, né? Bastante informativa, né? Trouxe conceitos aí bem modernos, bem atuais e nos leva a esse questionamento aí, né? Bastante interessante aí para vocês refletirem, né? No mundo que a gente está tendo. Gostei demais, né? Muito informativo. Imagino que vocês também tenham enriquecido muito, né? O conhecimento de vocês. Essa questão da inteligência artificial, né, do aprendizado, né, por meio das máquinas, esse aprimoramento, né, constante aí que está surgindo e o universo de possibilidades que a gente tem dentro dessa tecnologia, do uso dessa tecnologia, né, em todas as áreas, tá? É algo que veio para ficar marcante. Eu achei muito interessante, muito visionário, né? Eu acho que é muito interessante vocês se atentarem para isso, né? A parte aí dos programas para projeção, o pessoal da arquitetura, o pessoal já usa, né, essas ferramentas de gerenciamento da construção, né, da projeção. Você viu que coisa interessante, né? Você vai trabalhar com uma acurácia cada vez maior de dados, de informações, um nível de acerto cada vez maior, né, um nível de informação cada vez maior, né? Isso é muito interessante, abre muito as possibilidades de vocês, tá? Essa parte final que ele disse aí, eu acho que é crucial, né? A gente vê todo esse avanço, né? Todas essas possibilidades aí que a gente tem nesse universo aí da inteligência artificial, das máquinas, do aprimoramento, né? E da perda de desperdício, né? Então, isso tudo vai contribuir muito, tá? Porque no mundo, quando se pensa em sustentabilidade, né? Em falta de recursos, né? E em reduzir desperdícios, tá? Essa eficiência que esse sistema traz, ela é crucial para longo prazo, né? Para a gente pensar aí na nossa sociedade a longo prazo. Não vai ter como fugir realmente disso. Aumenta muito o nível da eficiência, o nível do controle, o nível da segurança, né? E principalmente, né, que é o mais interessante, né, o nível de desperdício, né? Você vai gerar muito menos resíduo, você vai desperdiçar muito menos, né? Você vai aumentar muito mais a eficiência, você vai ter um nível de acerto e de segurança cada vez maior, né? Na execução, na construção, e como ele disse, o sistema vai se aprimorando, né, cada vez mais, né? É um sistema realmente bastante promissor. A gente não sabe, né, realmente onde que isso vai dar, porque o nível de eficiência vai se tornando cada vez mais maior, né? Quanto mais dados você tem de determinado sistema, mais ele vai acertando, né? Mais ele vai ajustando ali, tá? Então, realmente, eu acho que foi muito interessante, né? A gente vê aí essa perspectiva muito provocativo, né? Para vocês que vão estar entrando nesse novo universo aí, né? De projetar, de arquitetar, de construir, tá? Esses dois setores são setores que têm uma pressão muito forte das questões ambientais, né? Justamente por isso, consome muitos recursos naturais e gera muitos resíduos, né? Então, realmente, a inteligência artificial, esse uso de máquinas, ele vai ser muito forte nesse setor, né? E foi muito interessante a visão que ele nos apresentou aqui, da gama de possibilidades, né? De como isso pode afetar desde a projeção, né, desde você ter as informações, a facilidade, né, para você pensar e para você quantificar, mensurar tudo isso, né, num projeto, e ter as informações, né, até ali você controlar, né, o nível de eficiência, de materiais, de todo o processo de gerenciamento de uma obra, né, como é uma ferramenta facilitadora, né? Então, realmente, eu acho que o futuro vai partir muito para isso aí, tá? Isso está bem claro, bem evidente, e acho que vocês estão despertados aí para essa nova possibilidade, né? Eu acho que foi bem interessante, tá? Quando se pensa no mundo mais sustentável, tá? Passa obrigatoriamente por mais eficiência, tá? E como eles expôs aqui, as máquinas, tá? Nesse ponto de eficiência, de execução, de redução de desperdício, né? Ela é incomparável a nós, tá? Ela é um auxiliar fantástico, tá? Mas é muito interessante também vocês pensarem que o processo criativo, né, principalmente o pessoal da arquitetura aí, né, toda essa questão criativa, humana, isso é algo que eu acho que ainda vai, por mais que você seja eficiente em fazer sempre uma coisa, né, e ela é sempre cada vez mais bem feita e com volume de informação cada vez maior, né, e é isso que as máquinas fazem, né, com a capacidade de processamento cada vez maior, né, elas vão nos auxiliar muito. Mas o processo criativo, né, inventivo, emocional ali, essa questão humana, ela também vai estar embutida nisso. Então, é um facilitador, tá? Bom, não vou ficar delongando muito aqui, não. Vocês podem fazer as perguntas aí pelo chat, né, que a Pamela vai tentar pegar aí um assunto bastante instigante, né, e depois isso vai ser disponibilizado para vocês, tá? Então, tá ok. Boa noite para vocês, tá? Nós vamos ter a continuidade da semana amanhã, tá bom? E que a gente possa aproveitar bastante, né? Palestras como essa aí, que são bastante enriquecedoras, tá? Para vocês aí, como alunos, estudantes, e para nós também, como professores aqui, tá? Foi um prazer estar com vocês. Boa noite e boa semana, né? Integrada para vocês aí. Até amanhã. Forte abraço.